Good morning, and welcome to the second day of the week and a cold day again. Colder than yesterday. -7 wind chill today and some snow in the forecast. We'll cover that for you later with Kendall Wilson, WLNS. Have you had a disagreement with your spouse? I've got one going right now over coffee, of all things. I just opened with you. I don't know where the big hair found this stuff, but it is terrible. And now, you may think that having a disagreement with your spouse is a bad thing. Don't we all? We want to get along, right? But I think, well, we're going to find this out from a guy who thinks a lot deeper about this than we do. His name is Dr. John Braccio, drjohnb.com on the web, Regional Psychological Services in East Lansing. And they have done so much counseling of couples and folks. They know exactly what you need to do when you have a disagreement. I would think you got to patch the wound right away. Doc, good morning.
Well, good morning to you, Mike. And really, the first thought you really might have when you hear this topic, that really disagreements can really lead to a better marriage. It really does give you a little double take, okay?
Yeah.
But it actually is, if you really think about it. When people come together in a marriage or a long-term relationship, they do it as individuals who have chosen to be together, hopefully for a lifetime, based on love, common interests, usually wanting children with a true desire to always be together. As the old saying goes, love is the greatest thing, okay? Mm-hmm. The relationship is further cemented if there are children. They are trying to offer the best life possible with both parents in a loving home. The point here is that any disagreements need to be dealt with in a respectful manner where each person can present their disagreements and not be attacked by a partner demanding to be the winner and being dismissive of their views. Disagreements are really simply part of human nature, and two people living together and interacting on an ongoing basis, really they need to learn how to effectively manage them. Anyone who's married or has been in a long-term relationship will certainly admit they've had disagreements and do have disagreements. That they stay together and maintain their love means they have learned how to deal with them and can overcome them. This doesn't mean it will always be easy to resolve them. No, it can actually be very difficult. Sometimes persons simply agree to disagree on something, whereas in other areas they will try to compromise because it makes for a much more pleasant and loving relationship. And resentment, without a doubt, does build. It builds up when you have unresolved disagreements that just build over time. Typical areas of disagreement would include what house to buy, money management, educational choices, career choices, what remodeling might be done in a house, intimacy, whether to buy a cabin or other vacation home, where to live, whether to put children in a public or private school, and even far less important things like what movie are you going to watch at home or what restaurant are you going to go to for a meal. Well, common ways to help resolve conflicts when you have them are agree you're going to be respectful of each other in disagreements. Will each encourage good interaction. Each will agree to listen to the other in active listening to make sure they will get their point. They will work at specifically identifying areas of concern and determine they are going to work out their areas of disagreement rather than end up being very angry with each other and over time potentially falling out of love and ending the marriage. I've worked with many couples, Mike, who have said if they had learned and been willing to work on problem solving, with disagreements when they were married, they would still be in lifelong loving relationships that would be at least as strong as when they first fell in love. But it was extinguished by demeaning arguments and disagreements that did not need to lead to a winner, and the end result was anger and destruction of what once a loving and caring relationship. So kind of the key to really what I'm saying here is, you're going to have disagreements. They're going to happen, okay? But if you don't learn how to deal with them, then it can end up really ruining the love, ruining the relationship with people that are just fighting and bickering and upset. And so you really have to learn to work at this. And if you do learn to work at it and you're effective at it, you're compromising, you're trying to talk, you're trying to listen, then it gives really, great higher percentage of probability that relationship, that marriage is going to work. And if you don't learn how to deal with disagreements, unfortunately, it's often either a very horrible ending or a very horrible reality for the two that live together. Yeah, so there are two really bad outcomes where if you can really work at it and talk and communicate, things can be quite good, actually.
And mom and dad can have, I mean, we rub off on our kids, so we're not doing them any favors by not resolving arguments. Boy, that's the big thing, isn't it, Doc? To save a marriage and just to give you a good head start on being a married person is you got to know how to communicate and argue in a good way.
Well, it's true. I mean, it's a skill set you need to develop. You can be in love with somebody, and there are going to be disagreements. I mean, things really, where you're going to live, how many children are you going to have, where do you want to go?
Money is the big one.
In terms of, do I want more training or schooling? I mean, how are we going to deal with it? I mean, there are just so many things that can come up. How to raise the children. There's so many issues that can come up. But people that can, and assuming we're not dealing with totally unreasonable people, that there's no way to compromise with them. I'm talking about the vast majority of people that are in love. They want to stay in love. They want to be in a relationship. They want things to work. They want this relationship. And if they have children, they want to have this loving, full family, situation together, to be sharing and loving in a life. And I think if a person who's listening to us says, well, we seem to argue about all these things and we can't find a solution, look in the mirror first, while you're driving, okay, but just not too long, and just look at it and say, I can do some things. I can work at this. We can come to agreements, and we can agree not to agree, and not demean the other person. But it's one of these things, like we use the word a garden. It is a gardening. I mean, you have to every day be working at it and working at communicating, learning how to communicate more effectively, and potentially having quite a happy life. Because people really, except for a very few loners, most people want somebody around. They want to have someone to love, and they want to be loved. I mean, it's part of the human condition. So if you're in a little rocky relationship or it doesn't seem to be going well, take a time out, take a look, and see if you can really work on this. I mean, you may need a therapist to work with you, or some family friends, or a minister, but a lot of it is just two people making themselves a little vulnerable, willing to say, let's talk, let's work on things, let's recognize we can disagree, but let's be respectful of each other, and let's come to some joint resolutions and some agreements, and just determined to fight fairly and disagree fairly, and just have things work out. When people can do this, it can lead to a long, healthy, quite a happy relationship. That doesn't mean there won't be disagreements again, Mike. I mean, except in the Hallmark movies, where the guy isn't working, just carrying, Christmas trees around and gifts to people, and this sensitive, caring guy. I mean, there may be some of them around, but mainly it's two people living in the world and struggling, dealing with things, and trying to be happy, loving, and caring with their children, and carrying that on with them, and hoping that they can have the same kind of life.
You said something a little while ago, I think that's interesting. You said disagree fairly, I think, or something like that. When over your years, when a couple will come in and tell you they've got a problem, etc., is one of the first things you do, without actually saying it to them, but you know your techniques and stuff, but it seems to me one of the first things that I would do, without even being a licensed therapist person, is try to find the humility in the person talking. Are they talking from a humility standpoint? That would be key, I would think.
They're actually willing to admit they're part of the problem.
Yes.
That kind of what you're.
Yes.
I'd say it depends, Mike. I mean, every situation is obviously different. But when you run into a situation where one or both are just not reasonable, they're each into my way is the right way, and there's no other way. I mean, those are hard to work with. But even in cases like that, if they really are saying we love each other, we care for each other, we have to find a way around this. This is when I will talk about active listening. You've got to listen to the other person. What is their concern? You don't have to agree, but you want to be sensitive and tuned in that they have an idea, that type thing. Now, if it's something like, let's run off and go to the circus and the kids can each have their role in the circus role and we'll travel the country. Now, that might be a deal breaker. Okay? But
I don't know. That sounds cool.
But most things that people disagree with, there are things that are just either not worth arguing about, or getting some rules like even starting out, we love each other, we're going to stay together, we're going to work this out. Now, how do we deal with this? And then when someone makes a statement like, I would like to continue my education, as an example. This seems to be a common thing that comes up. There's going to be certain cost benefits, short term, long term. There's going to be a payoff. And the person will say, well, we don't need to do that. We're doing fine. Let's just keep doing what we're doing. Okay. Now, that's something, to be discussed. Okay. As an example, do you do it now? When do you do it? If a person really wants to do that. And and there's no right or wrong on these, because it could be better to wait until the kids are a certain age, or it could be that maybe that career you're going into, horseshoeing, is not really going to have a big upside in terms of jobs. And people do often want to continue and spend a lot of money on something where there's going to be no payoff. And if you're spending the money and you're the family, is involved putting resources, that's something at least you've got to take a look at, okay?
Yeah.
And I'm just taking one example. But a lot of things people argue about, too, about even remodeling can lead to a lot of fighting, with people. Where you're gonna live, where are the kids going to go to school? There are just a lot of things where people have to be able to sit down, and even the basic day-to-day, they sound simple about what you're going to watch on TV, what meals you're going to eat.
Wow. If that's a major contention, what you're watching on TV, boy, you need to call Doc Braccio big time, like in emergency mode.
But people do, Mike. A lot of people fight about these things.
Oh my gosh!
And that's not going to be a deal breaker. But things that people can learn how to compromise, even, believe it or not, having the other room with a second TV, switch off day to day. I work with people who even do that. There's a big TV and a little TV, and different room, and they'll switch off certain hours. I mean, like
if that's
Monday,
a problem, that's got to be indicative of a bigger problem, though, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's got to be.
Well,
yeah,
it is. But what I find is little things can turn into big things too.
I suppose. Yeah.
So,
hey, we're up on time.
I'm giving you small ones, but the big ones obviously relate in intimacy. They're just things that people can have conflicts, and if they can't learn to talk and work them out, it can really make for a very, very difficult life, Mike.
Yeah, Dr. John Braccio, Regional Psychological Services. Communication, man, communication.
Very
Doc,
pivotal and important.
I always look forward to our chats, and it's very helpful. I appreciate it. And even if you argue over what kind of coffee your wife just bought, oh my gosh!
But if you work at it, you can have success. Is my view of this, if you want to.
All right. Hey, Doc, thanks a lot. We're up on time. We'll chat next week.
Okay, buddy.
See you later. 1320 WILS. Hey, an accident. I'm just getting word on this. An accident on I-96 eastbound just past the Cedar Street exit. That's a rough area right there. That right lane is blocked. All right, so I-96 eastbound just past Cedar Street. Right lane's blocked, so be aware of that. 7:24. We're going to do this and come back real quick for news. 1320 WILS.